scientists, it's PS Science here, and today we're going to talk about the global water supply, how all of the water on planet Earth, the salt water, the fresh water, frozen, that which is in the atmosphere, is distributed all over the planet, and how very little of all of that water is available for us to use. And water is one of our most important resources. When you see planet Earth floating in space in all of the vastness of the universe, the first thing you notice is how blue it is. In fact, its nickname is the blue planet, and that's because Earth is covered with water. About 70% of Earth's surface is covered with water in various forms: salt water in the oceans, fresh water in lakes and streams and ponds and rivers, water in the atmosphere, but most of the water on planet Earth is salt water, not fresh water, and not all of the fresh water exists in a form that we can readily use, like the water stored in reservoirs. Of the 3% of water on Earth that is fresh water, 2% of it is frozen in glaciers in the polar ice cap and is part of the atmosphere. So on our watery blue planet, only 1% of the water is accessible for humans to use, and even that isn't always easy. In many places on planet Earth, fresh water is not easy to find, and humans have had to devise many ways of getting access to fresh water. If they don't have it near them, then they have engineered ways to get it to them. But even with that, there are still many places in the world that face the challenge of water scarcity. Now, if you're fortunate enough to live in a place where you can go over to the water faucet, turn it on, and get the water that you need, it's hard to imagine what it is like to face water scarcity. And part of the problem is because the water on planet Earth is not distributed evenly. Not every place that has humans living there has enough water for them to live. So they have to figure out how to get water from other places, and even then, sometimes they can't get enough. Let's set up a model so that you can see the distribution of water on Earth and how little of that water is actually available for humans to use. And keep in mind, humans can't live without water. We can go a couple of weeks without food, but humans can really only survive for about 3 days without water. Let's set up a model so that you can visualize better what the challenges are. First, let's take a look at the water pie chart, and you might want to pause the video so you can make an illustration of this in your notebook. Remember, 97% of the water on planet Earth is salt water, and of the 3% that is fresh water, only 1% of it is actually usable, accessible to humans. Look again at that tiny little red sliver. That's the fresh water that's available for human use. Take a look at what you're going to need to set up this model so that you can understand how water is distributed on planet Earth. You need a 1 teaspoon measure, and you also need 1 cup of water and 2 empty clear containers. And you're also going to need 3 teaspoons of any kind of cooking oil, as well as a small empty container, and probably some paper towels would be a good idea. First, you're going to take your cup of water and pour it into one of the empty jars or cups. And think about that being all of the water on planet Earth. 100% of the water is now in your jar. And then you're going to take your 1 teaspoon measure, and out of that 100%, I want you to remove 3 even teaspoons of water. There's 1. There's 2, and And here comes 3. Let's imagine that the water you removed, those 3 teaspoons, that's the fresh water. Of all of the water on planet Earth, that's the fresh water. And we're going to replace the fresh water with 3 teaspoons of oil so that you can compare the amount of fresh water to salt water that's in the ocean. Once you've put the 3 teaspoons of oil in, remember the oil is representing the fresh water, you'll get an idea of the comparison, the amount of water, the 100% of water on Earth, 97% of it is salt water, and only 3% of it is fresh water. Now, we're not using a graduated cylinder, so our measurement is not exact, but you really just want to get a visual idea so that you can imagine the amount of water on planet Earth. Are you able to visualize this, scientists? Out of all the liquid in the jar, the oil represents the fresh water and the clear represents the salt water. That is not a lot of fresh water in comparison to the salt water. So now let's go back to those 3 teaspoons of fresh water you removed. I added some blue food coloring so that we could see it a little bit better. Remember, out of that jar of water, this is the 3% of fresh water on planet Earth. And get this, of the 3%, only 1% of it is actually usable by humans. So let's take away 2 teaspoons of the available fresh water, and that will leave us with the amount that is available to us for all of the things that we use for water every day. That little tiny amount that I've put into that container of all of the water on planet Earth, that's what we have to work with. Water, fresh water, clean, potable fresh water is a valuable resource. So go ahead and make that model, scientists, so that you can visualize how precious our freshwater resources are. Good luck, and I'll see you the next time. Okay, scientists, thanks for watching. Did you enjoy that lesson? Subscribe below to see more fun science videos. You can also become a member of PS Science on Patreon to support what we're doing. See you next time.